Okay, let's unpack this. We've been sent this really fascinating collection of words. They all start with that simple Latin prefix AB. Now, on the surface, that prefix just means away or off.
Right, but the listener here really zeroed in on something deeper. They pointed out that when you put that prefix in front of certain Latin verbs, you get these English words.
Like abase, abjure, abase.
Exactly. And they all share this dense, central theme of movement, specifically movement away or down.
Yeah, it's all about removal, reduction, or rejection. It's like we got a mini dictionary focused entirely on the concept of loss.
It is. So I think our mission today is to go beyond those simple definitions.
And show you how the specific historical, legal, and even spiritual roots in these words reveal these, really dramatic nuances of meaning. We're turning a simple prefix into a historical map.
Precisely. And what's great about this collection is how many of them have these surprising histories, embedded in legal precedent or high-stakes religious decisions.
Proving that language is always tracing historical movements and shifts in human status.
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
I love that idea. So, are you ready to dive into the act of casting down?
Absolutely. Let's start with the literal and figurative act of lowering, abase and abject.
Okay, so abase, that's the verb, right? The action. It feels very formal.
It is. It's a transitive verb, and it means to lower someone, or very often, oneself in rank, in prestige, in esteem.
You see it a lot reflexively, like he had to abase himself before the new king.
You do. And the synonyms really tell the story.
Yeah.
Degrade, humiliate, demean. They reinforce the psychological violence of the word.
But to really get its full weight, you have to go back to its original meaning, which was physical.
Exactly. The source material points out that before it was all figurative, abase literally meant to lower something physically.
So it wasn't just about bending your ego?
It was about bending your body. The root traces back to Vulgar Latin, basiar, to lower, which itself is linked to basis, meaning fat, short, or low.
And that example from Nathaniel Hawthorne is just stunning.
It is, describing the elephant bending lowly down its mountain bulk with trunk abased.
Wow. A mountain of flesh physically humbled. The movement is just, it's inherent in the word.
That's the key. So if the base is the verb, the action of lowering, then abject is the result. It's that miserable low state.
Right. So we use it to describe something that's sunk into a really bad condition, like abject poverty or abject failure.
Or a spirit that's been completely cast down. You could have an abject coward, for instance.
Or if you've done something terrible, you might offer an abject apology, one that's just total humility.
And this is where we get that really satisfying linguistic click. The word abject comes from the Latin source ebicere,
which means
to throw away or to throw down. The ultimate root is the verb jacere, to throw.
So if you live in abject misery, you're literally in a state that has been thrown down, abandoned. Yeah. That's why it feels so much heavier than just saying poor or miserable.
It connects abject to a whole family of words. Think about reject, to throw something back. Or subject to be thrown under the authority of something else.
I see. When you get that original physical action of throwing down, the word just takes on a whole new dimension of weight.
It really does.
That's a powerful way to start. Okay, so moving from physical and spiritual lowering, let's talk about stopping things. Suspension, reduction, the more legal side of things.
Right, words like abad, abeyance, and abolish.
Let's start with abate. It sounds simple, but it's one of those words where the precision is everything.
It really is, especially in law and science. So intransitively, it just means to decrease in force or intensity. You wait for the storm to abate.
Or for a fever to abate.
And then transitively, it can mean to put an end to something, like to abate a nuisance, or to reduce it in value, like to abate a tax.
But the real depth, I think, comes from comparing it to its synonyms.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets interesting. The source gives us 4 great comparisons. So if a loud crowd becomes quiet, they subside. That's about the ceasing of turbulence.
Okay. And if something like a fashion trend fades, it wanes. That's the fading of something that was good or strong.
And ebb, of course, is that beautiful metaphor for receding, like the tide, something that comes and goes.
So how is abate unique?
Abate specifically stresses a progressive diminishing. It's not a sudden stop or a natural recession. It's a continuous, measured decline.
It's systematic reduction. So if an earthquake abates, the shaking gradually lessens. If it subsides, it just stops.
You've got it. And now you can see the legal importance, right? That progressive, measurable reduction is key.
Right, especially in a state law. The source mentioned that if a will's gifts are more than the available assets, some of the bequests have to be abated.
Reduced proportionally. It's highly technical, but the concept is dramatic. Who gets their inheritance cut first? There's a whole hierarchy of reduction.
So abate is really about managing the process of loss through measured, fair reduction. That's a fantastic takeaway.
And speaking of loss and legal limbo, that brings us to abeyance.
A state of temporary suspension. We almost always hear it as in abeyance.
Always. And for a word that means suspension, its etymology is unexpectedly dramatic.
How so?
Well, its Anglo-French ancestor meant to open wide, or even to gape.
Gape? Like with your mouth open?
Exactly. It connects to the historical legal meaning, a lapse in succession for a title or property, when there's no legal owner.
So everyone is standing around gaping, waiting for the new heir to be named, and the whole system is just frozen.
Yes. So when we say a project is held in abeyance, we're sort of channeling that feeling. It injects a little drama into administrative delay.
That's great. Okay, so let's contrast that temporary suspension with the next word, abolish, which is, well, it's final.
It's complete. Definitive destruction. To abolish something is to completely do away with it, annul it.
A law, a system, an institution like slavery, the word carries immense historical weight.
It does. It comes from the Latin abolere, to destroy or efface. But here's the twist.
Go on.
Historical linguists see a possible, though very ironic, link to the Latin root alere.
And alere means?
To nourish, or to bring up.
Wait, I'm struggling to connect those. How does a word meaning to destroy share a root with to nourish?
It's powerful, isn't it? It suggests that maybe the original concept involved removing something that had been grown or brought up. But for us, the irony is so clear.
Right. A word we associate with the final destruction of a morally bankrupt system might contain an echo of sustenance.
It underlines how monumental that destruction has to be. The ending of a system that was, in its own horrific way, nourished by a society.
That's a lot to think about. That shift brings us to our third segment, which focuses on deep emotional disgust and formal rejection.
Yes. Abhor, abjure, and abnegation.
Abhor feels so intense. It's more than just dislike.
Oh, much more.
Hey.
To abhor something is to regard it with extreme repugnance.
Right.
To loathe it. It implies a deep, often physical, shuddering repugnance.
The roots must reflect that physical reaction.
They do, perfectly. Abhor comes from away and horo, which means to bristle, shiver, or shudder.
Horo. Just like horror and horrible.
Exactly. It's the same root. When you abhor something, you are having a full body recoil, a shrinking away in disgust, like your hair is bristling.
Which gives us amazing scientific precision to the phrase, nature abhors a vacuum.
It's a perfect example. Nature doesn't just dislike it. It recoils, it shudders, and rushes to fill the empty space.
Okay, so let's take that personal rejection and make it formal. Let's talk about abjure.
Abjure takes that feeling and turns it into a binding commitment. It means to renounce upon oath.
Or to solemnly reject something. You can abjure your allegiance to a former country, or you could abjure a destructive habit.
And the historical weight here is just monumental. The key is the Latin word jurare, meaning to swear.
Like in jury or perjury?
The very same. So to abjure is literally to swear it away.
So it's not just saying, I don't believe this anymore. It's standing up and declaring under penalty, this belief is cast away from me.
Precisely. And for centuries, this was a life or death decision. Think of the Spanish Inquisition. You were given a choice. Abjure your beliefs, take that solemn oath to renounce them, or face execution.
The highest possible stakes for a formal rejection.
It requires immense courage or perhaps desperate fear to perform an abjuration.
And rounding out this group of formal denials, we have abnegation.
Right. And while abjure is about renouncing something externally, a loyalty, a belief abnegation is usually about self-denial.
So a monk practicing abnegation of material goods.
Correct. It's a formal denial of self. But it's more proactive than just refusal or denial.
How so?
Denial can be passive. You deny an accusation. Abnegation is an active, purposeful choice to reject something for yourself, something usually considered normal or beneficial. It's a deliberate choice of loss for a higher principle.
I see. Okay, we've covered lowering, stopping, and sworn rejection. Now we move to deviation and cleansing.
With our final two words, aberrant and ablution.
Aberrant is all about straying, isn't it? Deviating from the normal type. We usually hear it in a negative context, like aberrant behavior.
We do, and the Latin root, aberrar, tells that story. To wander away. from ab plus errar to wander, or be in error.
So it's fundamentally about going off the path.
It is. But what's so crucial here is that the word's meaning is all about context. We typically see straying as a negative, right?
Yeah.
A problem to be corrected.
Sure.
But the source material highlights this wonderful duality in science.
Right. Aberrant behavior might be a social problem, but for a biologist, finding an aberrant gene mutation, that could be really exciting news.
It's the spark of discovery. An aberrant gene could be the key to understanding a new disease, leading to new treatments. In that context, the deviation isn't an error, it's a breakthrough.
I love that. So the prefix aberrate can lead to either a breakdown or a breakthrough.
Depending on the field, yes. It makes the word dynamic, not just a synonym for weird.
Definitely. Okay, finally, let's look at ablution. This feels different from the others. It's washing away.
It is. It's the washing of one's body, or part of it, especially as a religious rite. Ritual ablutions.
And it comes from Latin abluere, to wash away.
Correct. Ab plus lavere, to wash. So instead of throwing down or rejecting, here the prefix is about taking away impurities.
And it didn't start out as a purely religious term.
No, its history shows an evolution. The earliest uses were in alchemy and chemistry, describing the purification of substances through washing.
And only later did it shift to religious rites.
Exactly. The first documented use in that sense comes from Sir Thomas More back in 1533. It's got that formal, almost scientific feel to it.
And we have to mention the fun fact.
We do. For those of you who run into British English, especially military slang, the plural ablutions can just refer to the building with the toilets and showers on a base.
So a very literal structure for washing away, a perfect detail to end on. We've taken the stack of AB words and really traced a profound journey. All of it defined by that one simple prefix, abe, away, off, down.
We really have. We went from the humiliation of abasing oneself and the low state of abject poverty all the way through the legal suspension of a title and abeyance.
To that high-stakes, oath-bound rejection when you abjure your beliefs.
It shows you that language is so rarely accidental. It's just loaded with intention and history.
So as you encounter these words now, you can appreciate that specific historical weight. You can ask, why did the author choose this specific form of away over all the others?
And if we connect this all back to that ambiguous, dynamic nature of aberrant, I think it leaves us with a provocative thought. If the root of the word means simply to stray from the path, well, first we have to define the path. And when precisely does an aberrant event transition from being a problem that needs correcting to being an unexpected discovery that needs pursuing? That's something for you to mull over as you encounter these words in the world around you.